And you're welcome. My name is Yoko Kwakutre.
And I am Micheline Taka. Robert Frimpong-Manso is here to help us with the sign language. Now, in the headlines, peace building expert Emmanuel Bombande says social media should not be shut down during the elections.
Makes reactions to patronage of ongoing voter exhibition exercise in Kumasi.
And gunshots fired at Munich shopping center killed several people.
Now the news in detail. The Deputy Minister Designate for the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Mr. Emmanuel Bombande, does not agree that social media should be shut down during the upcoming elections. Mr. Bombande says Ghana should rather make use of all tools and mediums responsively and effectively to enhance election coverage.
We go for a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Do stay with us.
The Oni of Life, the supreme traditional ruler of Yoruba land of Nigeria, has urged African countries to harness their positives and apply their comparative advantages to the benefit of the continent, while calling on President John Mahama at the Flagstaff House in Accra. Oba Dr. Adeyeye Enitan Babatunde Enitan Ogunwusi Ojaja also praised Ghana for internal peace and security, as well as her fight against corruption, saying Ghana's sterling credentials constitute a beacon for Africa. Napoleon Atukito reports.
Yoruba is one of the traditional pillars of Nigeria. It is about a kingdom, a people, a language, a culture, and a heritage. The title of Yoruba Supreme Traditional Ruler is the Oni of Ife. His visit to Ghana and consequently holding discussions with President John Mahama underscores the strong interface between tradition and politics, and by extension the close ties between the peoples of Ghana and Nigeria. The two countries are leading economies in West Africa and also illustrates a binding culture of the African. Oba Dr. Adeyeye Enitan Babatunde Ogunwusi Ojaja spoke passionately about these as he urged Africans to come together and work for their common good.
Before, there were no boundaries across the entire continent of Africa. But after the Berlin Conference in 1884, the scramble for Africa came, and we were divided along several boundaries, and nations in Africa started to emerge. But one thing we should all know, we shouldn't forget our source. The greatest joy in this world is joy of our source and our origination. In Africa as a whole, we have common things across the entire continent. Irrespective of whether you are from Ghana or from Nigeria, we have similarities in our culture and our tradition. That is our greatest strength.
President John Mahama explained how the chieftaincy institution operates in Ghana. He also made reference to the large Nigerian community in Ghana as one more sign that Ghana and Nigeria are not just regional neighbors, but brotherly in their engagements.
I want to congratulate the ONI for the strong interest he has taken in our country, and I believe that this visit is going to cement the relationship between his kingdom and Ghana. The Yoruba-speaking people are present here in Ghana, and many of them are Ghanaians because they were here pre-independence. Our independence declaration said that anybody who lived within the borders of Ghana on 6th March 1957 is a Ghanaian. And there were many Yorubas present here in Ghana, and many of them have been my classmates, and several of them are still working in quite high positions in our public services, including ambassadorial positions.
For GTV News, Napoleon Atukitu reporting.
Officials conducting the ongoing exhibition of the voters register in Kumasi have expressed mixed reactions to the turnout of registrants to verify their biometric data. Some officials think the patronage is low, while others say, given the number of days left to end the exhibition and the attitude of Ghanaians towards such exercises, patronage will eventually increase.
Ashanti region, considered a political hotbed in Ghana, has the highest number of 47 constituencies with about 2.7 million registered voters. However, 5 days into the 3-week exercise, the number of those who have come to verify their biometric data on the register is not that great. The EC officials have different expectations about the exercise in the days ahead. At the State Experimental Basic School Center A in the Nshiaeso constituency, the exhibition officer, Mr. Thomas Ajay, told GBC24 that out of the 669 persons on the register, only 113 of them had come to verify their particulars as at about 11:45 a.m. He said one of those who came there claimed to have registered with an NHIS card but realized his details were still on the register. He was therefore referred to the Ashanti Regional Officer of the EC to have the particulars deleted. At the Opokuwari Girls Vocational Institute Center A, also in Nshiaeso constituency, the exhibition officer, Mr. Bismarck Yeboah, said one person came there to have a deceased relative's details deleted, but that could not be done because he failed to provide the required evidence for the deletion to be done in accordance with the law. Mr. Bismarck Yeboah and other officials at the Center B said the turnout had been very low. At the Kasi MAJHS, out of 835 persons on the register, 199 had come to verify their details as at 12:22 p.m. At that center, the officer, Madam Hagar Nanabro, told GBC24 that 3 persons who came to have their supposed deceased relatives' data deleted from the register.
China has opened another frontier with Africa with the facilitation of vacation trips to Beijing for AIDS orphans from Ghana, Zimbabwe and South Africa. The move aims at restoring smiles to the faces of AIDS orphans. Underpinning the concept is a pledge by China to establish an AIDS prevention fund in support of global efforts to fight the spread of HIV/AIDS. Another report by Napoleon Atukitu.
The power of women at play for all the good reasons. The presence of Ghana's First Lady, Mrs. Lordina Mahama, and the Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Madame Sung Bahun, to this event highlights the arrival of a veritable response to the plight of persons living with HIV/AIDS. The wife of the Ghanaian president had been in the forefront in the campaign against the pandemic. Her foundation has been working towards zero transmission of the disease from mother to child, while ensuring that affected persons live on antiretroviral drugs to boost their immune systems. On the other hand, China is just weighing into the picture, calling her response to HIV/AIDS as love under the sun. The Chinese are introducing summer vacation camps for kids whose parents died through the incurable disease. In August this year, and which will be on regular basis, 10 such children from Zimbabwe, South Africa and Ghana will be sponsored to China for vacationing, a ray of hope for children who could have been condemned to a life of despondency but for the flurry of philanthropic interventions.
Children are the flowers of the motherland and hope for the future. They are indeed of special care and help. AIDS orphans belong to the special vulnerable group in the society, and the government attention and support should be strengthened to help them grow up healthily and happily. This is the first time to see these kids to visit China. I feel sincerely happy for them as they will experience exotic cultures and make new friends.
It is my prayer that the summer camp will inspire greater pediatric care, protection of orphan children, and the promotion of the rise of people living with HIV, particularly children living with the disease. The right of the children affected by HIV and AIDS to education, health, and the freedom to live their lives are dear to my heart. We must all come together to advocate for this.
Beaming with smiles, an AIDS orphan, Chelsea Eldridge, expressed gratitude to China and the AIDS partners for the package.
This trip has come at a crucial time in our lives when we are still getting to know ourselves better and preparing ourselves to become future leaders. During our 7-day stay in China, we hope to build lifelong networks with young people from China, which will be nurtured to the benefit of our two countries.
Teenage pregnancy, child early marriage, and rehabilitation of AIDS orphans are among the specific areas where interventions are targeted for minors, as agencies continue to serve reminders that society is not completely purged of the deadly disease yet. Napoleon Atukitu reporting.
The Salvation Army Ghana has presented relief items worth $20,000 to some 500 people around Weija in Accra. The beneficiaries are victims of the recent flood disaster that hit parts of Accra.
The Salvation Army is a Christian church and international charitable organization structured in a quasi-military fashion with the sole aim of providing spiritual and material needs of the poor. During the recent floods in the low-lying plains of Accra, the Salvation Army presented relief items to the National Disaster Management Organization for onward distribution to flood victims. This is the second batch of relief items handed to flood disaster victims in Weija and its environs. The items include bags of rice, cartons of cooking oil, water, and bales of used clothing. The leadership of the church presented the items to the Gan South NADMO office for onward distribution to the disaster victims.
When disaster strikes, Salvation Army immediately gets to work to provide disaster relief and surprise the needs of the people. We've been doing this since the Army's establishment, and we've been serving the affected communities around the world.
We are all called upon to give to the vulnerable, the poor, the destitute, and this morning you have fulfilled the word of God in the life of these people.
More than 100 people representing 500 affected households in Weija and adjoining communities benefited from the items. A list of the victims was used for the distribution of the items. The Salvation Army called for support to the church to enable it to aid many more people in need.
Good evening, you're most welcome to the business news. My name is Esther Edu Ohumewu. Trade volume between China and Ghana stands at $6.6 billion. Ghana is therefore China's sixth trading partner in Africa. At the Ghana-China Investment Forum in Accra, Vice President Mr. Kwesi Amisa-Arthur said Ghana should not be considered a charity case, but a potential trading and investment partner for the benefit of both countries.
In 2015, China made direct investments of $174 million in Ghana. This was added to investments of previous years, amounting to $1.3 billion, making Ghana fourth ranked in the area of direct investments in Africa. Currently, the value of China's newly signed contracts in Ghana has reached $1.4 billion. At the Ghana-China Investment Forum in Accra, the Minister for Trade and Industry, Dr. Ecclespio Gabra, called on Chinese entrepreneurs to consider establishing industries in Ghana rather than export raw materials from Ghana to manufacture their products.
When we've had a chance to visit your country and to visit some of your factories or to visit even showrooms, and we ask some of your colleagues back in China where the raw materials come for certain products, those are Africa. So the question is whether it's increasingly economical for you to import large quantities of raw materials from Africa, ship them several thousand miles to China, convert them into finished products, and to ship them back here for us to buy, or you'd rather position the machinery and equipment here in the form of factories to be closer to the market.
The Vice President, Mr. Kwesi Emisa Arthur, said the forum is to provide the opportunity for partnerships and information sharing to spearhead industrialization in Ghana.
The government of Ghana seeks to further transform our economy by formulating and implementing programs that make particular sectors attractive to investors, whether local or foreign. While we have historically had significant investments in the extractive industries, we are now particularly interested in attracting investment into the agro-industrial sector, where there are considerable opportunities for job creation. We have introduced an industrial policy to encourage the growth, diversification, upgrading, and competitiveness of the manufacturing sector.
The Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Sun Buai-ho, stressed the need for the two countries to exchange ideas and make full use of dialogue and cooperation for development.
For the first time in 30 years, the State Enterprise Commission will have a board to manage its affairs as it plans to restructure its system in September. At the signing ceremony of the 2016 performance contract of Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the State Housing Company, the Executive Secretary of SEC said the Commission will continue to promote efficient and profitable operations of the state-owned enterprises.
The State Enterprises Commission started as the State Enterprises Secretariat under Legislative Instrument LI 47. The Secretariat was tasked to promote efficient and profitable operation of statutory corporations engaged in trade and industry. Even though the State Enterprise Commission postponed signing of the contract with interested state-owned enterprises, SOEs, due to some challenges, two of the state-owned enterprises, State Housing Company and the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, have signed the 2016 performance contract. Dr. Samuel Sapong of the State Housing Company said the contract would boost the company's performance since its operations will be monitored by the State Enterprise Commission. The Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, Mr. Simon Alute, said the authority hopes to improve on its dynamic financial indicators.
We are also looking at restructuring the authority as it stands now to make it more efficient, to be able to address the objectives of the authority.
This document will actually tell us what to do in a form of a strategic policy, so that at the end of the day, state housing will be able to perform to the benefit of His Excellency the President and Ghanaians as a whole.
The head of Public Investment Division at the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Joseph Chognubu, says state-owned enterprises are key sectors that contribute to the growth of the economy.
All efforts are being put in place to ensure that we help in shaping the SOE's contributions properly, that is efficiently and effectively. And it is for that reason that we have embarked on the SOE reforms, which most of the state-owned enterprises have been involved.
As part of strategies to restructure its system, the State Enterprises Commission is to constitute a board to steer affairs and increase efficiency in its operations.
It's very important that we look at cross-fertilization of the SOEs. I've always said that if you look at Ghana or the SOEs as one big entity, all the various SOEs then become branches of the entity. So we should look at it as one holistic thing so that we support the other SOEs. The SOEs together under the Public Investment Division is the business arm of government. And for it to thrive, we need to be able to support each other.
The State Enterprises Commission has advised state-owned enterprises to sign the contract before it is made compulsory for them to do so.
To some foreign business, Britain's decision to leave the EU has led to a dramatic deterioration in economic activity. Data released today shows the PMI fell to 47.7 in July, the lowest level since April 2009. A reading below 50 indicates contraction. Both manufacturing and service sectors saw a decline in output and orders. However, exports picked up, driven by the weakening of the pound. The report surveyed more than 650 services companies from sectors including transport, business, and restaurants. On the interbank market, the pound sterling is selling at 5 cedis 22 pesos. Gold and cocoa appreciated by 20 cents and $6 respectively on the commodity market. After the break is the insurance news. Thanks for staying on. A health and safety consultant in the petroleum sector has told GBC24 insurance is a must-have for all service providers in the sector. Mr. Charles James believes that operations in the upstream, midstream and downstream can have dire consequences on both human and aquatic life, which can be minimized through insurance.
Just like any other endeavor, there are a lot of insurance for, there are insurance for some specific components and insurance for some specific equipment, and then before insurance for the whole of the facility, and then also the persons there are also insured, even to the extent of the damage that you could cause to the environment. You could also take insurance for this. That in the event that you spill oil and that you are going to pay for the cleanup, insurance can also cover this cost. So insurance plays a major role and a key role in petroleum activities.
And that was business. Thanks for watching.
You're welcome back. This is the health segment. Senior pharmacy managers have been meeting in Takrady on ways to curb the abuse of antibiotic medications and its potentially serious health effect. Antibiotic resistance is a growing public health concern in the world. Also known as antimicrobial drugs, antibiotics have saved countless lives. Its misuse and overuse has also contributed to the phenomenon known as antibiotic resistance. This resistance develops when potentially harmful bacteria change in a way that reduces or eliminates the effectiveness of antibiotics.
Antibiotics, also called antibacterials, are a type of antimicrobial drug used in the treatment and prevention of bacterial infections. They may either kill or inhibit the growth of a bacteria. Health experts say the overuse of antibiotics, especially taking it even when they are not the appropriate treatment, promotes antibiotic resistance. Senior pharmacy managers across the country have therefore met to deliberate on ways to address the misuse of antibiotics in the health sector. The Western Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran, noted with concern the inappropriate use of antibiotics and proliferation of substandard antimicrobial medicines as a major challenge facing healthcare delivery.
We, the leaders in the healthcare delivery system in this country, should endeavor to build the capacity of others in the area of appropriate use of antibiotics, and also endeavor to come out with the needed standards and guidelines to reduce the burden of antimicrobial resistance in our country in particular, and the whole world in general.
The Director of Pharmaceutical Services at the Ministry of Health, Mrs. Martha Jansa-Lutrot, asked the managers to reflect on the quality of antibiotics in the supply chain. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ebenezer Apiadentra, asked the pharmacists to adapt pragmatic measures to ensure the effective and efficient delivery of pharmaceutical services to the people.
I want you to restore the Regional Therapeutic Committee. The idea is to bring people together, prescribers, and they all sit down to agree on the medicine that you use. You take advice, and that will guide procurement. At least twice in a year, there should be a survey to look at the prescription pattern, to look at the quality indicator that you put in place.
A lecturer at the Medical Microbiology Department of the University of Ghana, Legon, Dr. Japheth Opintan, called for proper laboratory diagnosis before antibiotic medicines are prescribed.
Work is reported to be ongoing at the National Eye Center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The center was closed down as a result of the unbearable hot conditions in the facility. Management of the country's leading teaching hospital experts say the work is to be completed by the middle of August.
The National Eye Center is a newly created facility meant to train doctors in West Africa. When GBC24 got there, the center was being rehabilitated. This is to make the place more ventilated and safe. According to management of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, corporate bodies and philanthropists have presented 35 air conditioners to the center. Out of its own internally generated funds, the teaching hospital also presented 40 air conditioners to the center.
We are still expecting additional air conditioners from some donors. We are not out of the woods yet. We want them to redeem their pledges so that we can get the place fixed. The work has gone far. It is our expectation that they will help us with the hygienic air conditioners for the theaters so that we can fix that and then start the operations.
The center, which is a specialist eye facility, was opened in October 2015 but was not fitted with air conditioners, and therefore the place was too hot for the staff to endure. The hospital management closed down the facility on the 9th of March 2016 and intends to open it by the end of August. They have apologized for any inconveniences caused by the closure of the center.
The Ghana Broadcasting Corporation has financially supported a member of its technical staff, Mr. Clement Taria, to undergo heart surgery for a condition known as mitral regurgitation. Management of GBC paid 35,517 Ghana cedis, which is the total amount required to undergo the procedure.
Mr. Clement Taria with the TV Technical Department of GBC was diagnosed with a heart condition known as mitral regurgitation 2 weeks ago. He used to undergo corrective surgery at the National Cardiothoracic Center at Kolebu. His doctors said Clement required $9,000 for the procedure. A team from the state broadcaster GBC, made up of management and some members of staff and his wife, were at Kolebu to make payment for the surgery. The total cost of surgery, which is 35,517 cedis, was paid. The director of the National Cardiothoracic Center, Dr. Lawrence Ribo, explained the medical procedure. He was happy with the prompt response and support from Mr. Taria's employers to save his life.
GBC management represents
cash of $9,000 it's almost 35,000 Ghana cedi. There's a cater for our brother Clement Tewia.
He has a problem with 2 of his heart valves, and he will need surgery to replace one of the valves, and the other one I think will be able to repair it so that his quality of life will improve. It's good to work with a good company, I think, that GBC has promptly come to pay for his medical bill.
Mr. Clement Tewia was grateful to GBC for stepping in.
Sisia nyame na meda na se. Mi nso am de aseda ama GBC for management. Said ye ade eye me na me aminim se bibi kra se eye me.
Surgery is scheduled in the weeks ahead.
Staying on, the Deputy Minister Designate for the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Mr. Emmanuel Bombandi, does not agree that social media should be shut down during the upcoming elections. Mr. Bombandi says Ghana should rather make use of all tools and mediums responsibly and effectively to enhance election coverage. Mr. Bombandi made the remarks when he appeared before the Parliamentary Vetting Committee on Friday.
Mr. Emmanuel Bombandi, who hails from Boko, has 15 years experience in conflict resolution and is a widely acclaimed peace-building practitioner. He has served in various capacities in organizations, including the UN, and is a co-founder of the West Africa Network for Peacebuilding, WANEP. There was close scrutiny of his CV. His cross-examination was on a wide range of issues, given the nominee's position as a peace-building expert and how that could impact the ministry he has been assigned to.
I know we are a Commonwealth country and we have a lot of bilateral agreements with the UK. Do you think the Brexit will affect us?
I will suggest that we need to observe very closely the unfolding trends. If you look at the visit of Prime Minister Theresa May to Germany and France, there seems to be an indication that the new government of the United Kingdom is not in a hurry to leave the European Union as we thought. So we need to look at that and also see whether Brexit triggers a potential exit also of Scotland or maybe Northern Ireland. And a careful study of these development trends, we can then begin to assess to what extent can it affect us. But right now, I cannot say that it will affect us.
He expressed his view on whether or not social media should be banned during the elections.
I will not advise that we shut down social media. But that does not mean, in my advice, I do not recognize the potential danger it presents, but I'm looking more at the potential benefits. So what we need to do is to establish the mechanism that continuously makes the use of social media to be a tool of more responsibility that is on upon all of us, rather than shut it down. Because when you shut it down and later on you open it, you are indirectly saying that continue to be irresponsible, but then at a certain point we will shut you down and then we will open it up again. I think there is a onerous responsibility on all of us that every tool that is available should be used responsibly.
Touching on intra-community peace building, Mr. Bombadi said his success story for Boko derives from dialogue and willingness of the people to ensure peaceful coexistence.
Boko is a good example of the departure from the old ways of approaching conflicts with committees of inquiries. And Honorable Chair, if I might call it a humble experience that is also an achievement in life, it was working with my colleagues in WANEP to convene the first ever dialogue in which all our community representatives in Boku, our chiefs and our elders, could travel and sit in Damango for 4 days and engage each other. And And that is the period that you referenced. After elections in 2000, we had the violence. But then we had a recurrence 7 years later. But we had established the precedent that the best approach is when we are able to sit and dialogue. And the processes then continued in which we were able to convene the type of dialogue in Kumasi on 2 different sets. What is happening now is, with government support, and as a result of this, we have established a National Peace Council, and as I said, going to the district level. But in the particular case of Buku, we have the Buku Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee. And there were moments of challenges and difficulties, but finally, there is an agreement on how to work together.
It was a marathon time with some misunderstandings at some point. Some of the MPs grilling him raised concerns about whether his appointment will not tarnish his hard-won reputation of integrity and over the years.
There is no better honor. There is no better commitment than to serve your own people.
Next was the Minister Designate for the Ministry of Local Government, Mr. John Otibles. He is the youngest nominee among the 3.
One of the major challenges under our decentralization local government is the DCE MP conflict. You're a member of parliament. What is your take on this?
The way forward as a country is to get district chief executives elected.
The poor sanitation situation in the country was also an issue.
It is about making sure that those who are paid to manage the issue do their work.
Mr. Joseph Tete Angmo, the Eastern Regional Deputy Minister Designate, also took his turn. He was a district chief executive for the Upper Manya Krobo until his nomination. The Eastern region is home to Galamsey activities. The MPs asked the nominee how he would deal with the situation.
Who is hardworking, is seriously working on that through the Regional Security Council. And if I'm given a nod, I will support to tackle this problem.
Both Mr. Emmanuel Bombade and John Otibles have been asked to correct the anomalies in their CVs and furnish the committee with other relevant documents by Monday, July 25th for further consideration.
Good evening, let's talk sports. I'm Theophilus Sampa. The Ghana hockey men's team continued their good run in the Greater Accra Hockey League. The police team beat reformers from the Ghana Prison Service by 3-1. The clash between the Ghana Police Service and reformers was one of the match day 3 encounters in the ongoing Greater Accra Hockey League. The tempo of the game was higher as both sides were looking for the win to better their chances of winning the league. For police, winning the first 2 games has boosted their morale, and the third will lift them to the summit of the league table. For reformers, a win will bring hopes as they lost their 2 opening matches. The first half ended 1-1. The second department of the game saw the police push more men forward. Their efforts paid off as Isaac Kofi scored. Reformers were still compact in defense, but a constant threat from the men in blue jersey yielded positive results. Just under a minute to end the encounter, police scored through Benedict Sam. The encounter ended 3-1. Here are some reactions from the players.
We had some chances that we could have even scored more than the 5 goals that I predicted, but it's game, game is either you win, lose or draw, but I'm happy we got the 3 points. That's what matters most.
We are playing an unbeaten league and we are winning the league. Police has always been a champion team, so anyone who meets police is well prepared. If you watch the game, you could see that they started in a way that we won't score them. They wanted a draw. That was our game plan, but we made sure, yes, we wanted the 3 points and we did exactly as we did. We are on course, as I said. Madam Grace, be well assured that we are winning the league for you.
The league is not over, okay? We have about 3 or 4 matches to go, and we are going to win the rest of our matches. And nothing shows that they are going to take the league, because it's about a 7-team league. You realize that, and at the end of it all, every game counts. So we are going to get the rest of our points, and I'm sure that Reformers is going to bounce back.
The team manager for Reformers said they will bounce back.
Our first match went down heavily. The second match was also, we reduced it, and now it is 3-1. had it not been the officiating, police cannot score it. Had it not been officiating, you see that if anything they whistle, the crowd roar against the officiating, meaning that they were biased in the officiating.
The bulk of matches for Week 3 will be played on Saturday at the Theodosia Okun Hockey Stadium in Accra.
The second edition of the Ivorian Crafts Trade Show MIVA has been launched in Accra. The main event is scheduled to take place from Friday 16th to Sunday 25th of September at the Palace of Culture in Côte d'Ivoire. The show aims at promoting innovation and quality in African crafts.
The crafts industry appears to be an excellent hope-bearer as regards the great potentials it presents in terms of job creation, giving value to local products and its contribution to fighting poverty. As part of strategic plans to portray African art craft globally, Côte d'Ivoire is to host the second edition of the Ivorian Craft Trade Show, MIVA, to allow artisans benefit from the great assets the country brings to them. The head of the delegation of MIVA, Mese Touare Mamadou, invited Ghanaians in the art and craft industry to participate in this year's craft show.
The aim is to promote the African craft, get in contact. When the craftsmen get in contact, they exchange their how to know and their expertise, and this is to better the craft products. Because we think that craft should take a part in the GDP of African countries.
The show will take place at Palace of Culture, Trècheville in Côte d'Ivoire from Friday the 16th to Sunday the 25th of September 2016.
There are different types of Adinkra symbols. The entertainment desk today takes a look at some Adinkra symbols and their meaning.
The Adinkra Hene symbol literally means chief of Adinkra symbols, and it signifies greatness, charisma, and leadership. Akoben in English means war horn, and it represents vigilance and wariness. Akofina is the sword of war, and it stands for courage and boldness. Akokonan means the leg of a hen, and it represents mercy and nurturing. Akoma simply means the heart, and it represents patience and tolerance. And Anansin spider's web, signifies wisdom and creativity. Akomantuaso means linked hearts, and this indicates understanding and...
Well, we come your way again at 10:30 with News Tonight.